Today there's no, or this week there's no real big news except for that, and this is just my own opinion, based off of what he said. Jordan Peele, I will never give this man the time of day or my money. He's far left. His movies suck, and he literally is the biggest racist, one of the biggest racists racist people there is, and I cannot stand people who are racist. I don't care what color you are. I do not like racism, period. Especially when it comes from the black community. That's because they literally try to claim that they can't be racist because they're black, but that's bullshit. Anyone can be racist. And Jordan Peele is one of the biggest racists there is. He's also very far left and liberal. He literally made a statement saying that he would probably never. It doesn't have any time soon he plans on putting any kind of white people in it, ever in his movies, especially white dudes. He just, he flat out admitted he was a super racist person, and I would never give that man any time of day or any of my money. His movies, I could care less about a black family who has, their doppelgangers wanting to kill them. It doesn't appeal to me, whatever. It sounds stupid anyway. I guess, and I've seen the trailers for Get Out and that movie, and they both look stupid. But he's very super racist, so I wouldn't have nothing to do with him whatsoever. And I'm not about to give that man my money, that's for sure. But that's my own opinion about him. If you like him, then you like racist people, you more power to watch his movies. But you're promoting racism when you do it. So, moving on. I do have several B-rated movies or cult classics that I've watched recently. I'll try to get to them all. I tend to watch movies faster than I'm putting out videos. So by the time I put out another video, I've already watched like 6 other movies, by that time. I'm what's called a movieaholic. But anyway, so before I get to your B-rated movies, I want to talk to you about, about a particular type of video game franchise. It's called Final Fantasy. I'm sure most of you have heard of this type of video game. There's a series of them. And I played the first one. I barely remember it back when I was really young on NES, and I liked it. That's all I can remember about it. I played over here in the U.S. it was Final Fantasy 3. It was like Super Nintendo or something like it. But over in Japan it was Final Fantasy 6, not 3. They released it over here and called it 3, which was wrong. It's actually Final Fantasy 6. I played it. I don't remember hardly anything about it except for that's when they introduced the Espers and all that crap. And Moogle or whatever, Moggle or whatever his name is, but I do remember I liked it. I just can't remember much about it. And then the one that got me hooked was Final Fantasy 7. When it came out for PS, it seemed like everybody bought that game and everybody was playing it, and at the time, at least all my friends were. And I played that thing for hours and hours and hours until I beat it. I loved that game. And I played a little bit of 8, but I never gave it a real chance. because I just played 7 and they went and changed a bunch of crap, like how to do the summons and the magic and build up the magic, and it felt wrong to me, so I never really gave it a chance, even though I was kind of liking it. Uh, and I did play, eventually I played 9, and I liked 9. There was just a couple elements I didn't like about the game, but for the most part, I played it and I beat it. And then I played 10. And that's where they kind of dropped the ball for me, because they went and, I thought it was going to be pretty cool, because now they're talking instead of having to read everything. They were talking now. I thought that's cool, excuse me. But unfortunately, I just couldn't get into 10. Like, I didn't like the whole, the ball game crap where you had to go underwater and play ball to get certain equipment and crap. It was like a side quest. And I didn't care for that. It kind of irritated me, because there was some of the equipment I wanted, but I really didn't want to play them stupid underwater ball games that were, I don't know, I couldn't ever figure out how to actually play it. It was dumb. But, just other certain parts of the elements of the game I didn't like. Why would they dress Titus like that? I mean, just the lead character, he just looked like a dumbass, like a dork. Didn't know how to dress. It was dumb. Anyways, that kind of ended it for me. I didn't play anything any Final Fantasy after that, because every time I see a trailer for a new Final Fantasy game, 10 and up, they all look the same, pretty much. It was the same gameplay and crap, and I just no, thank you. So I thought, it's been years since I played any Final Fantasy game, so I thought, I think I'll go back through and play, at least the first 10, or the first 9, maybe 1 through 9. I'm not sure if I'll play 10 again, but I thought, well, why don't I just go back through and play them again? Because there's lots of games, old games for like the PS and other systems that I've never got around to playing that I would have liked to have played. And I did have some favorites too. But anyway, I thought I'll go back to the Final Fantasy series and play the Final Fantasy series. Now, Final Fantasy did 1 and 2, and it was called Origins for the PS. So they re-released the games over here in the US. Unfortunately, they did not release Final Fantasy 3 until way later, and I think they have a Nintendo DS version of it. And it's all 3D now as a remake, but they never released it for the PS or whatever, an older version of it. And then they did 4 and 5 and 6, and I think they called them the Anthology set, the Anthology set. I've already played the first one, and I liked it. My only problem was, I forgot that, you take 2 steps, you're in a battle. You take another 2 steps, you're in another battle. You take 2 steps, you're in another battle. That can get really annoying when you're really just trying to get somewhere to keep the story moving along. That's about the only thing that really gets on my nerves sometimes about the Final Fantasy games, is that the battles, you run into enemies a little too much sometimes in certain areas. But for the first one, I didn't really have a problem with it. The leveling system and everything was really good. I like the fact you got to choose your own type of character classes. The only thing, the black belt, the monk, you know, nothing changes for him when he upgrades to you know, a master instead of just you know, a martial artist. Once it becomes a master, nothing changes. His stats don't go up or anything like that. He has, he gets his ultimate weapon fairly early, or final weapon fairly early in the game, called Iron Nunchuck, and you have that throughout the rest of the game, no matter what. There is no other weapons for him, so that really sucked. So that's not a character I recommend choosing. I shouldn't have chosen, but I did, like an idiot, because I wanted to see what all of them got. The thief, he sucks. He don't do any stealing or anything like that, and it doesn't become fairly decent until he upgrades to class change to a ninja, and then only then, you know, then he gets to use a broader base of weapons. But other than that, he pretty much sucks. So I wouldn't recommend him either. I chose, of course, the warrior, which becomes, because he's your tank, which becomes a knight, and he gets all of the good armor and the good weapons. I chose a red wizard because, you know, I thought I'd get a balance of both red and white, because I was using the other two crappy characters. But unfortunately, he doesn't get the best magics. He only can go up to like level 6 or so in magic for either side. And he's limited on what he can get for either black or white magic. So my best recommendation, I should have got the two warriors and then a black and a white mage, and because then I would have had both the best weapons, best armor, and the best magic. But otherwise, I really liked the game. It was really good, and it didn't take all that long to beat. The second one, completely different. The second one, just, they really dropped the ball on the second one. I was surprised they made a third one after that. The second one, you don't get choose character classes. You're stuck with 3 main characters. You get a fourth one, but unfortunately, the fourth one constantly changes throughout the game. So you're always getting a different character for your fourth character. And it gets really annoying every time you get a new one, because then you have to build them up again, because they're really pitiful compared to the 3 main characters you have. You have to build them up for them to even be able to stand up to most of the enemies you're going against. I did not like the system, level up system at all. The magic was ridiculously hard to level up, because you literally have to go through 100 battles just to go up a level. And let's say your fire magic, you have fire, you have to use it 100 times in battles, and then it'll go up to fire 2, and then fire 3, and fire 4, and so on. But every time you have to use it 100 times. Then it'd go up another level. It's ridiculous, because there was so much magic to have, and you would have been hours upon hours. And I did spend hours and hours trying to level up stuff. A lot of grinding, way too much grinding. And here's the reason why. It wasn't so much the magic, but when you got to how to get their HP and their endurance up, endurance was, how they could take the hits, their defense would get stronger and stronger. So every time an enemy would use an attack on them, it'd do less and less damage to them, the higher your endurance was. And to get the HP to go up to like 2,000 to 3,000, you literally had to constantly go into a battle and pummel your characters, beat the holy piss out of your characters over and over again, and millions of battles just to get your HP and your endurance to go up. It doesn't. They didn't level up like, with experience points. You literally had to forcefully make them level up. It was ridiculous. Um, I didn't like that. I did like the fact that each character could use whatever weapon they chose. They just had to learn it, and the longer they use that weapon, the higher or better skilled they were at that particular weapon. So if you use a sword and you were constantly using the sword through the main part of the game, you might level up the sword skill level for the sword up to a 9 or a 10, and they knew how to do more damage with it, and they knew how to get a better percentage of getting a hit with that particular weapon. So I like the fact that they could use any weapons, level up any weapon. That was good. The rest of it sucked. The level system, anyway. I played it though. I finally got through the game and beat the game. It was okay, but it wasn't. I didn't care too much for a storyline. But it was alright, It wasn't too bad, except for that level system. I spent way too much time leveling them up. The next game, the third one, like I said, didn't get released here, so now I'm on the fourth one. That's where I'm at right now. I'm still playing the fourth one. Haven't gotten through. I've probably gotten a little over halfway in it. I'm in the underworld right now. This deals with Cecil, the Dark Knight. I don't like the fact that they keep changing characters on me constantly throughout the game. I would have liked to have played more with Edward. You only get to play with Edward at the very beginning for a few battles, and then he's gone for the rest of the game. But the idea of Edward doing magic through music, a bard, that was a really cool idea, and I liked it, but they got rid of him real early on, so it sucked. And they made him look like he was a wuss anyway. He would hide all the time if he got low on HP. So I didn't care for that, but otherwise, that really burnt me. I don't like the fact that they keep changing characters on me. I can't. I hate that. The one thing that really gets on my nerves, they have a level system, all right, but when you go to look at the items that you've collected, any type of armor, magic, or anything like that, it doesn't give a description of what it does. The only thing it gives descriptions on is your items that cure status ailments. For instance, Maiden Kiss cures frog. It tells you that when you go over the item, when you're looking through the items, it gives you the description, tells you it cures that. That's the only stuff that it will tell you about, like what a potion. Like I said, on Final Fantasy IV, it just gives you descriptions of certain items, that cures ailments. It does not tell you what status, what kind of statuses it cause, certain weapons cause to enemies. Like if you were, even though it's pretty explanatory that it shows you a sword and then it says sleep by it. I mean, you get that the sword is, it'll cause a sleep status on an enemy if you use it. You have a percentage of causing it. However, there's certain weapons or armor, like the rune armor. It doesn't tell you what it does. The whip, it doesn't tell you what the whip does. You have to kind of figure out that it paralyzes enemies, but it doesn't say that it will do that. uh, um, certain items that you can use in battle, it doesn't tell you what they do. Like the unicorn, you don't know what it does. It doesn't tell you. Um, but you know, I really hate that about Final Fantasy IV. That it doesn't give you an in-game description of what the items do or anything like that. Uh, it doesn't tell you about the Nimingway quest, or Naming Way quest, whatever. I didn't even know about that until I read up just recently about it. There's a side quest that gives you certain arguments and stuff. I didn't know about that. I didn't even know about the tails that you could get onion armor and all that crap. I didn't know any of that because it doesn't tell you in the game. It's like, how are you supposed to know any of that unless you look it up online and figure out what other players have done. So that's one of the biggest downfalls I have with Final Fantasy IV. That it tells you nothing in the game. Like, it doesn't give you hints to like certain quests or anything. In fact, half the time you can't even tell where you're going. You kind of have to guess where you're supposed to go next. Well, I haven't been in this section. Maybe I'm supposed to go this section. So that's what you do. But yeah, I've missed a lot since playing the game because I didn't know about certain side quests and stuff, and being able to get certain items, and there's certain places I should have gone first and gotten a little bit higher in levels before going to certain places I went to, because I was getting my ass pummeled. So it doesn't tell you all this stuff. It's annoying, irritating. Certain enemies have, like the cat. They have these cats in the game. They can instantly KO you with a certain type of magic called Bluster, and there's no defense against it. Unless you get like I think the Protect Ring, but you can't get the Protect Ring till way towards the end of the game. And you're running in these cats all the time. That's a ridiculous type of magic to have, and they get it on your characters all the time. Like, there's this one section where I was playing where you go through these doors in the underworld, and each door will turn into a monster, and it does this a KO magic called Dimension, and there's no defense against it. Unless you learn Wall, but the problem is you can only put Wall on one character at a time. So it's constantly KOing you all the time. They had this one guy, Rubicon or whatever. He was like the fourth elemental fiend or whatever. And they tell you to use the thief every time he opens his little robes or whatever to stop him from doing this thing called Scorched that instantly KOs your character. But it doesn't work. Slow, haste, mini, sleep. A lot of these magics, they do not work in the fourth one at all. I usually ignore them because they just do not work. I've tried 100 times. The stop, none of that works. You basically have to really get your characters up to really high levels to get anywhere in this game. So I got to do a lot of level grinding before I keep going on in this game. And it's a shame because I'd rather just continue on with the story because I'm not a big fan of this one. But anyways, enough of that. On to your B-movie review. This is the Basket Case Trilogy. I don't know if any of you have heard of the Basket Case movies. They were done by a director called Frank Henenlotter. He's done other stuff like Brain Damage and some Franken thing. These movies star Kevin Van Hentenryck, but I'm telling you right now, he's literally the worst actor in all three movies. your main character is the worst actor. Uh, Everyone else is all right or fairly decent, you know, especially in the first one. The first one I enjoyed quite a bit because it was, you know, campy and cheesy and was fun. It's a comedy horror. They're all comedy horrors. The first one's not bad. The story is about these Siamese twins. They cut off the deformed brother, who's just this massive blob of gooey flesh with a face and two arms. Um, and his older brother, or the other brother, the normal brother, he carries him around in a basket. And they go around killing these doctors who perform the surgery, who took them apart. At the end of the movie, they fall out this window and they supposedly die out in the middle of the street. But they don't. Later on, is this first one was done in 1982. Later on, eventually after a few years, in 1990, he decides to do a sequel. In 91, he does the third one. Now the two sequels are just kind of half-ass retarded. I watched them, but they were so weird and just goofy. They meet this, I don't know, they call her Dr. Freak. It's Granny something. Anyway, she's houses all these other freaks, or what they call freaks, but they're all supposed to be deformed people, like 12 of them or something like that. And she has an assistant, this girl, in the second one. They hide the brothers in their place because they escaped from the hospital or whatever. And this reporter finds out. They end up killing the reporter and shit. And the deformed twin finds a girlfriend who's deformed. She's got legs instead of arms. It just looks just like him. Anyway, they have sex at the end of the movie, and then the older brother, he's like, you can't be happy if I can't be happy, because in the first one, the deformed twin kills this girl, the older guy, or the normal brother liked. Well, the normal brother, he kind of likes the assistant girl, but ends up finding out she's a freak too, and ends up accidentally killing her. So he says, if I can't be happy, then you can't be happy. So he goes and he sews him up to himself again. And that's the end of the second one. And then the third one, they split them apart again. And Granny's taking care of him with the other freaks. Anyway, the police department, the two deputies, they find out that the two, the deformed twin brother and his girlfriend is just like him. They have these like a dozen freaking kids or whatever that look just like the deformed brother with two arms and a blob and a face. They freak out. They kill the mother. And then, of course, the deformed brother, he goes after him. The normal brother, he gets with his deformed brother again. They make up, and he helps build him this like robot contraption where he sits in the middle of it, and it's this giant robot. And he goes and kills the two deputies, the daughter, the sheriff's daughter, and the sheriff himself. And anyways, at the end of the movie, the granny gets them all together, the freaks, and they're in the television studio or whatever, and she says, the time for normals is over, it's time for the freaks, and that's the end of the movie. I don't know, the first one was fairly decent. I like cheesy and campy and crap, and I could deal with it, even though it had some bad acting in it. But the other two, the 90s, where they bring in the freaks and the granny, I couldn't stand them really. I watched them, but I didn't really care for them. They were just too weird, too bizarre, and it made no sense whatsoever. But that's just my opinion. So I recommend the first one, but the other two, no. Not just you're really into some really weird, wacky comedy, horror, dark comedy. So, but that's your B movie. This this time around, this trilogy. Uh, if you have any suggestions or movies you'd like me to review that I might have missed from the, you know, before the 2000, or anything like that, most stuff I'm not really into anything after 2000, especially if it looks like Asylum Pictures did it. But if you have any suggestions of a gem I might have missed, please leave it in the suggestions in the comments below and let me know. I'll get around to reviewing it as soon as I can. Um, anyways, I told you I'd tell you the truth, and you've just been told.